Quazi here. You know, I'm always careful when I'm talking about religion on this channel. Religion is a very sensitive topic that a lot of people hold very, very dearly because they've tied their whole identity to it. When you challenge an identity that someone has held onto for so long, people don't tend to take it so well. I believe that throughout the history of religion, no other teaching has ever been skewed and twisted like the original teachings of Jesus. See, I was raised in a religious household, though what my parents taught me was very, very different from what the society around me that I was surrounded by at the time taught me. Being raised as a Muslim, I was taught to be God-fearing, that God is punitive. Be careful, one wrong step and you're gonna go to hell. That was the general attitude at the time. Now, I was fortunate that my parents taught me that that's not the case at all. God is actually very loving, very forgiving, and not at all punitive. When I adopted this new God view, my life became much freer, less resistive, and overall had more joy and ease to it. After all, if God loved me, wouldn't I want to willingly be his best servant? You know, this actually made me think, what if I'm not the only one whose views of religion were skewed by societal perception of religion? What if there were others? This brought me to my research of Christianity and Jesus. Now, I believe modern day Christianity does not fully comprehend the deeper teachings of Christ, or that they're somewhat skewed for profit. Let me explain what I mean. The first instance of this I realized when I heard an interview of a televangelist named Kenneth Copeland, who's worth $750 million. Yes, you heard that right. He insists on flying in his own private jet as opposed to flying commercial. When asked why,
we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
Can you explain what you meant by that term then? Just explain, because it's really simple. You said you didn't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. What did you mean?
Well, let me ask you.
Do you think that people that fly commercial are demons?
If you give me a chance to talk, sweetheart, I'll explain this to you. But it's a biblical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It doesn't have anything to do with people.
The teachings have been skewed for profit. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with making a profit, but when it's to the detriment of humanity, it really rubs me the wrong way. I believe that the true teachings of Christ are actually found in Gnosticism. In particular, one of the Gnostic teachings that have been purposefully left out of the Bible is the lost Gospel of Thomas. Now, around 2,000 years ago, during the Greco-Roman period, there were Gnostics who came much closer to the teachings, the true teachings of Christ, than the original churches that were founded at the time. The Gnostics insisted that Jesus Christ's emphasis had been on seeking personal verification of truth by direct inner experience of God, which was in stark contrast with that of the churches at the time, who sought a more authoritarian approach to Christianity, a more dogmatic one that places the church as the authority to make profit off of the people. Almost as if to say, give your money to the church and you'll be granted a place in heaven. The church found every possible reason to condemn and finally cast out the Gnostics as heretical and had them killed. Once the Gnostics were suppressed, this was a major loss for Christianity. Christian leadership came wholly under control of the church, who sought to twist the teachings of Christ to strengthen the church's authority. This is when the official teachings started to have massive errors. Instead of having a personal contact with God, the church advocated more for a congregational worship. But today, we change that. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into what I believe to be the true teachings of Christ, that once you understand, has the potential to transform your life forever. And what you'll notice throughout these Gnostic teachings, especially the lost Gospel of Thomas, is that there's one very clear theme that is very, very subtle that keeps recurring. So, with that, let's get started. So, what I love especially about the Gnostic teachings and the lost Gospel of Thomas is there are 114 sayings that are literally all just attributed to Jesus. Like, it's not about Jesus' life, his ministry, it's not about his resurrection or death, it's solely focused on his true teachings. So when we get drilled down so much into literally what he just said, we can begin to interpret the teachings directly. What you're going to notice throughout these teachings is that there are three main parts to this that we're going to discuss. But throughout these three main parts, there is one theme that keeps recurring throughout each and every single one of these things. So to begin with, I want to share with you a quote by St. Augustine. Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. Which leads me to the next part. Saying number 48 from the Lost Gospel of Thomas. If two make peace with one another in one and the same house, then they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. It's a very subtle, very nuanced topic. If two make peace with one another, I really want you to think about this. What is most disconnected? The heart and the mind. The heart and the mind in most of mankind is disconnected. People who've tried to become creative and follow their own path are very quickly shunned, and they say, oh, that's not practical, you can't do this, you can't make money with this, you can't do anything meaningful with this, you should follow this path, the do as I do rule. Everyone in society tries to put you into this box of societal conditioning where you should follow everyone. Oh, this person's doing this on social media, therefore you should do this too. Instead of someone being encouraged to follow their own unique path and becoming creative, quite the opposite is being encouraged. This is actually destroying the connection between the mind and the heart, or the conscious and the subconscious. And the elites, if you will, they know if they sever this connection, mankind will not be powerful. They'll simply be puppets or slaves to the societal conditioning system. And we will follow every single instruction that they give to us. But the moment we take this power back is when we realize the life that you want to experience, there is no blueprint for it. You are literally creating it. So you have to have that faith that what you do not see, what you do not know, it will somehow come into existence. And when you do, the reward of this faith is to see what you believe. How beautiful is that? To put this into more of a concrete, more actionable sequence, what we will do is understand the nature of gratitude, one of the most powerful emotions that you can experience. To understand the nature of gratitude, there are three main qualities to it. There is what we call the positive attention, negative attention, and neutral attention. Positive attention is when we perceive something favorably. We have a positive relationship to what we have just perceived. So for example, something good happens in your life, you're quick to label it good. Negative attention is quite the opposite. Something bad happens, you're quick to label it negative. Neutral attention is nothing. It's neither good nor bad. You just accept it as it is. Both positive and negative attention are very, very polar, meaning they have the power to attract and repel reality. To create your reality, you need this polar attention. Unfortunately for most people, what do they feel on a predominant basis? Just think about your life right now. What do you feel on a predominant basis? Are you constantly worried about something, anticipating something bad happening, or something to break in your business or in your life, or a bill to come up, or something bad to happen in your relationship, or to receive a disturbing news from a loved one? When you open your email, when you check the mailbox, do you expect something bad to come in there? Are you immediately fearful, or are you just like, oh, life is happening, life is great? What do you feel on a predominant basis? That determines where most of the time your attention is going. If my attention most of the time, which is what used to happen to me, is I was always terrified of something. When things were going well, I would just be like, oh man, here comes something bad. I would almost anticipate it. How crazy is that? And when I would anticipate it, that's exactly what would manifest. Something terrible would happen. So I would have this underlying belief that things can't go well for too long until something comes in to ruin it, to mess it all up. But now my attitude has completely shifted. That's because I've trained myself in the matters of the mind and the heart, which is focusing on gratitude, the positive attention. So when I focus on positive attention, unite my mind and my heart in feeling grateful for what I already have and focusing on what I actually want rather than what I want to avoid, guess what happens? The two make peace with one another in the same house. The mountain will move away. That's exactly what can happen. So in order to direct your attention to where you want in a conscious manner, we have to use the means of a higher frequency emotion like gratitude. You may say, oh, if I fear money, if I fear something bad happening, which is actually something good, let's say, oh, doesn't that mean if I'm afraid of money, I will get more money in my life? No. The soul only focuses on what is sincere. So you have to sincerely be afraid or fearful and doubtful of money or whatever it is that you're doubtful and fearful of. Only then will it manifest. But you can't be sincere in hating money. You wouldn't say if you had a lot of money, you would hate it. You would love it. It would be great. you're in abundance. When we focus consciously on being grateful for what we have right now, we're actually training our mind and our heart to continually think and feel that way. When we continually think and feel that way, that pattern that I used to have when I would continually worry about something that would go wrong in my business, get something in the mail that would horrify me, something from the IRS or, anything else, that pattern, I rewire myself from feeling that way on a predominant basis to feeling a different way. Do you see how this is working? This is habitual. You can train yourself to feel completely different. Now I wake up in the morning and I'm just filled with gratitude. I can't believe I'm here where I am today. It is still unbelievable to me. And that can happen for you too. The more you start to feel that way, the more you start to manifest outcomes in your life that correspond to that nature of your attention. More positive things start to happen. More blessings come into your life. The letter that you got from the IRS, you open it up and it's actually a check for $50,000 because they owed you a refund. That's literally happened to me. All of these things can happen if you change the nature of your attention. It's really hard to believe this, by the way. And society doesn't want you to believe this because they say, if you have good things in your life, you just got to work hard and make sure you fight to earn your place under the sun. What if working solely hard is not the only answer? What if there's something else that can make that hard work easier and more effortless so that it naturally comes out of us rather than us pushing and shoving and forcing these outcomes to happen? And that's exactly what I want to show you with this next part. So before I go to the next part, what I want you to take away from this is we need to have a coherence in our heart and mind directed towards the outcomes that we want to create in our lives. So for example, if I want to manifest business success, how can I feel that same quality right now in this very moment? What does it feel like to manifest business success? What does it feel like to manifest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 every single month right now? What is that feeling? And how can I be grateful for it now? What do I have right now that signals progress to the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month that I can feel grateful for? For example, I'm sure you have money coming into your life right now. Yes? So feel grateful for that money that you have coming in, the food that it puts on your table, for the shelter that you have, for the things that you already have in your life right now. Either look at the glass as half empty or half full. It's easy to look at it as half empty when you go on Instagram and you look at Instagram people sharing their big fancy lives. But guess what? Most of the times when people share stuff on social media, they're sharing exceptions, right? Them flying on a private jet or them going to a fancy hotel and experiencing a fancy vacation. That's not their regular life. If it were their regular life, they wouldn't be sharing it. It would just be like, oh, this is just another day in the life. What's to share? I want you to remember that. Anytime you see anything on social media, it's not real. It's fabricated. Use that to focus on your own life. That's great for this person that they're experiencing this. But for me, I am following my own path, and my path is different from someone else's. What's to say that you won't become a millionaire within the next couple of years? Even though for the last 10 years, you've been struggling. What's to say that if you've had 7 failed businesses, the 8th one won't be a massive success that takes you all the way to the top where you've always wanted to go? Stay persistent in your attitude. The attitude is what comes first. The actions follow as a result of the attitude. So how can I cultivate behaviors? That's the real question. How can I cultivate behaviors that make me more and more grateful? That's the first part of this that I already talked about, which is focusing on what is the thing that I want and what do I have right now that corresponds to that in quality, in frequency. Let's say you wanted to manifest money. Become grateful for the money that you have now and more will come. Whatever you feel grateful for, more of it will follow. When you feel grateful for the money that you have now and then you focus on the money that you want to see in your life, that energy of gratitude will get directed towards the thing that you want. So the solution here is get yourself into that state of gratitude every single day. And I love to do this every single morning when I wake up. Just think about 3 things that I'm grateful for today. I'm healthy, I'm living in a beautiful house, I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful child, I have a thriving business. And when I focus on the business goals that I have, and I'm grateful for the business success that I already have, what do you think happens? The movement towards getting to a more successful business happens. This is why the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. There is no magic to this. The only magic to this is they're in that frequency of feeling the feelings now, living from the end state now, making the two into one, having that heart and mind coherence. They're moving mountains. We're moving mountains every day. We're just moving the wrong ones. Train yourself to get into gratitude. Before I fall asleep, I think about all the great things that have happened today. And I just focus on those. The great things that have happened today, how great my life is, that's all you gotta do. When you understand this, it leads you to the next part, which is creating the identity that is conducive to you achieving the goal. And believe it or not, there is actually great evidence from the Gospel of Thomas that talks about identity and becoming one with the being. So let's jump into that right now. Now we have to understand how to become one with that frequency of our goals. Gratitude is one of the greatest ways to do this, but I believe what's even more powerful is getting to that state of having unity with being. Saying number 77 very, very well emphasizes this. In saying 77, Jesus said, "I am the light that is over all things. I am all. From me, all came forth, and to me, all attained. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you'll find me there." You see that repetition of that phrase, I am. I am. I am the source. From me, all came. That is pure beingness. People are very, very focused on taking action. Unfortunately, though, the people who take action but never get anywhere. There's a great story about the Buddha. Anytime the Buddha would meet someone, within 5 to 10 minutes, they would get enlightened, they would attain. But his brother had never attained, yet he's followed him for a whole lifetime. His disciples were perplexed by this. So they asked, "Hey, how come people meet you for 5 minutes and get enlightened, but your brother's followed you for a whole lifetime, and he hasn't gotten enlightened?" To which the Buddha answered, "The spoon will never taste the soup." If you don't want to be the spoon, if you want to attain, the only way to do that is to operate from the highest paradigm. Most people focus on doing, and they keep doing, and they keep running like a hamster on a wheel. They have no problem working hard, but they're just not getting it. They're not realizing that doing is not leading to anything greater. At the lowest paradigm, most people are focused on what they can take and what they can have. That is the having paradigm. In every single relationship that you have, you're looking at your selfish gain. What can I have from this? From any business decision you make, you're thinking about having something and taking something. A level above that is doing. When you focus on doing something, yet you're doing something in order to have, which leads you running in circles. You never really get to a level higher than that. The highest level of all is the being paradigm, when you focus on who you are becoming in the process of doing. So I want you to think about it this way. In the Bible, in Christianity, in every single religion, there is a mention of prayer. What is the real purpose of prayer? Is it to have something from God? Is it to just do the action itself? What is the goal of this profound action? The goal of prayer is to become prayerful. You are praying to become one with God, with the highest source of creation. What is the goal of meditation? To do meditation, to clear your mind? But the ultimate goal of meditation is to become meditative. The ultimate goal of any action is to become one with the highest quality that action represents, the being. If you look at famous golfers, famous basketball players, any athlete perfecting their craft, they sort of get into this state of flow. When you get into this state of flow where you lose all track of time, what happens? You become one with the greatest source of creation. We do take all of this action to experience what? Oneness. Unity with true being. That's why yoga was invented. The literal word yoga translates to union. We are uniting with the greatest source of creation. And that is what our actions are really targeted to. Unfortunately, most people don't know that. They do it in order to have an outcome. They do not do it to become something. It doesn't matter what we do. It really matters who we become in the process. What I want you to take away from this is, if you want to achieve anything, that having will get taken care of. You don't even have to worry about it. When you operate from this paradigm, then naturally you're going to take the right actions. If I am making this video with the goal of becoming the greatest video creator that I can be, the greatest idea communicator that I can be, the greatest that I can be, the greatest source of creation that I can embody, the God within me comes out. Therefore, my actions, the doing, will naturally get taken care of. And when the doing becomes natural, I don't have to fight against an invisible force and grind every single day. It's not a battle. What happens? I lose track of all the time that I've spent doing this. I must have made over 600 videos. I don't count the hours doing it. Yes, sometimes it's difficult, but the times I get into state and achieve a state of flow is when I'm freely sharing and I'm becoming one with that source without judging my every single move. So it's just like playing a sport or doing anything. If you're doing it because society told you to do it and you don't really enjoy it, you're resisting every single moment of it. You cannot become one with divine because you're in resistance mode. You're not letting the divine take over. This is a very meta concept. There's so much mention of prayer. There's so much mention of faith and being openness, which is basically shutting down this thinking mind. When you shut down the thinking mind, you go from being in your head to being in your body. You can experience the divine. When you focus truly on being the highest quality that you can imagine in any single field, in any single area of your life, whether this be in your business, in your creative endeavors, in your art, in your music, what you need to do will get taken care of. And when what you need to do gets taken care of, having in the physical manifestation is a natural consequence, is it not? That's why most of the time when you've forgotten about it, all of a sudden it comes to life. I want to tell you a story of one of my friends that I recently met up with. So he has this really big company, like a multi-million-dollar company. He was saying, when I started, me and my co-founder, we were broke. And I was reading this book. It was Ray Dalio's Principles. And what I just wanted to do as a fun experiment was I would write down checks of $20 million because he wanted to raise funding for his tech business. And so he would write down checks for 20 million, 100 million, 50 million, and he would just use them as bookmarks in his book. 2 to 4 years later, he found that book again after having raised 200 million. And he's like, I can't believe this actually came to life. When you focus on what you want, that's great. But then focus on who am I being when I'm effortlessly accomplishing this? That's the key. What I want you to take away from this is to really create anything in your life and actually maintain it. All you need to do is do with the goal of being. And when I explain this, people get a little confused, but when I explain this, I would say, if I am doing something and I have an outcome in mind, I'm always thinking about who would I be if I were effortlessly achieving that outcome? How can I be that version of myself now? How can my actions lead me to being that version right now? If I want to be a really great video maker, how can I be that version of myself now? How can I communicate my ideas so that I am that version of myself right now? And we have coached over 1,100 clients. And out of those 1,100 clients, we see that our process of helping someone shift at the identity level is the most crucial part of this. Because when we shift at that very core of how we view ourselves, we're operating from this paradigm. Then the doing gets taken care of, and then the having gets taken care of. So this is all you need to focus on, which leads me to the next part, summoning your guardian angel. And this is going to be, once you really get this down, this is going to complete this whole trilogy. What I'm about to share with you right now is going to sound kind of crazy for those of you who are very, very logical, but once I've started to implement this, everything changed forever for me. And I've never really shared this before, so I'm going to try my best to properly convey this idea to you, and let's take it from there. So there's this saying in the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, if they say to you, where did you come from? Say to them, we came from the light. The place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children, and we are the elect of the living Father. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you? Say to them, it is movement and repose. You see here that there is a close personal connection to the Father. There is something larger than you that is taking care of you. And you truly accept that. So for me, this was understanding that there is a guardian angel. There is someone higher than me looking after me. I find it really crazy when people believe that they are the center of the universe and there's nothing greater than them. I used to believe this, but then I started to see the absurdity of it. And you can kind of get the feel for this when you stare up into the night sky and you realize how truly insignificant we are. We're significant, but we're still very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And I don't mean to say this in a demeaning way whatsoever, but I'm just saying like there's something much larger than the little worries we have here and there, right? When I understood this, I understood the importance of having someone in your corner. And for kids, it's this imaginary friend that they have. You know what's crazy? Every single Christian friend that I have, and like people who've made a miraculous change in their lives, they have this personal connection to Christ. People have overcome terrible, terrible habits, sinful, lustful thoughts and behaviors and, addictions, all by accepting God into their lives. Why? It is this belief in something larger than you that is looking after you, that you answer to, that we all answer to. Right? There is no hiding from that larger thing. But if you reward that thing that's in your corner, that guardian angel, it will grow stronger for you. You will be able to cultivate that faith in the unseen. Only when you accept that there is something looking after you. Because there is. For so long, it's become dormant because you haven't used it. You haven't spoken to it. You haven't given that guardian angel love and care. That God within you, whatever you want to call it. So this is the only thing that I've found that has supercharged my faith. And why this was so important was when I realized that this concept of the identity consists of my self-view, how I relate to myself, and my worldview, how I relate to the world. When I believe that there is a guardian angel taking care of me, my worldview changes. I can go ahead and do the things that I'm afraid of because God will take care of me. I need not fear because my guardian angel will take care of me. And when my guardian angel takes care of me, I say, thank you, guardian angel, or thank you, God. Passing on these blessings and making that entity stronger. But when I self-pass on the blessings and I say, I am the greatest, ha ha ha, then my ego gets stronger and I build more and more resistance. When my self-importance goes up, that's why you see a lot of successful people. Have you ever noticed this? Every single successful people who has kind of been in the shadows, never really taken credit for their success themselves, they've always passed credit on. They've actually deflected the resistance from themselves, the self-importance. They've deflected it and passed it on to other people. They've successfully gotten rid of that impact of resistance, if you will, and they've just completely let go of that. No more ego inflation. They said, nope, it's not me. My team was all responsible for this. Thanks to my team, I was able to do this. Or thanks to other people, I was able to do this. They never take credit. They are always quick to pass on credit to others. What that does, when you pass on credit to your guardian angel and you say, thanks to my guardian angel, thanks to God, I was able to do this. It immediately diminishes all resistances you would have otherwise built if you inflated your ego too much. When you inflate your ego too much, life says, oh, you think you're so important? Well, here you go. Let's see how important you really are. And it starts throwing unnecessary challenges your way. And that's what I realized, is when I started to get rid of that ego thinking that, oh, I'm the greatest, when really it's none of my doing anyways. It's something higher than me making this possible. I simply work one with it and I choose it. I noticed that things sort of happen of their own accord without me insisting, without me battling, without me fighting against something, without there being unnecessary obstacles or challenges in my way. There is a fluidity, there is an ease to life. The very first time I invoked the guardian angel was in May of 2019 when I quit my full-time job to start my own business. And that month was the toughest month because there was a lot of pressure from my parents saying that you can't do this. What the hell are you doing with this silly little online business on your laptop? How can that possibly make money? And I truly understand that they wouldn't understand it because, hey, they came from a different third world mentality, right? So they wouldn't understand that. But it was really hard for me not to get support, like every single day have someone blasting in my ear like, what the hell are you doing with your life, blah, blah, blah. And now 5 years later, it's a multi-million-dollar business and we're changing lives and I'm living a very, very fulfilling life. So I'm really grateful that I went through those times. But during that tough time when I didn't know if I was going to make it or not, my guardian angel was in my corner. I said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not, but give me a sign. Please help me. That's all you have to do. Just ask for help. That is faith. Faith is, I don't know, but I trust something will show itself. Either this will work or something else. Faith is what unlocks this connection between the mind and the heart. When the mind is kind of like this conscious mind is like a gate to the subconscious. What I want you to do to really use this is from now on, build a connection with this imaginary friend or this connection to God. When you start to do this and you start to become grateful and you direct it to your guardian angel or to God, that God or that guardian angel will get stronger and stronger. And the more you'll be able to lean on this guardian angel during your tough times, when you're uncertain whether things will go the right way or not. What I've done is made a short 12-minute training on the 4 pillars to reality creation. There is no opt-in necessary. You don't need to click on something and put your email in. It's completely free to access. You can just click right here to access that. There's 4 main pillars to it. The pillar of awareness, the pillar of clarity, the pillar of creation, and the pillar of coordination. Once you master these 4 pillars, you're able to create anything that you want in your life. This has been my life's work. I've tried my best to condense it down into 15 short minutes. I believe it's anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, no longer than that. And you can click right here to access it. It's going to complement everything that we talked about right here and put it into a complete system for you. I'm rooting for you this year in 2024. Let's crush it together and I'll see you in this next video right now. Thanks.